Thank you so much, Amanda. Good morning, everyone. It's so wonderful to be with all of you today on this Dharma Sunday. It's been a while since I've been here, but I have been missing this community very dearly. Today, I wanted to revisit a topic that I taught on maybe a year or even 2 years ago called a teaching about gentleness with a capital G, sort of referencing this space as like how to cultivate non judgmental awareness, um, mindfully with our through meditation and post meditation with all of our daily actions and interactions. I find this especially poignant in a time when there's just a lot going on right now, personally, interpersonally, globally, politically, socially. And it's hard. It can feel incredibly overwhelming to sit with so much turmoil on many, many levels. And basically, the more we access this sort of non judgmental awareness, which is um, willingness to be incredibly open and not turn our heads away from things as they arise instead of judging them and creating meta narratives that keep us from being genuinely present, but instead to just really tap into what is happening, the resting in freshness, the essence of whatever arises. So we'll get more into this, but in honor of the crux of this, the heart of the matter of gentleness, I really want to spend a great deal of time this morning just meditating. So, the first segment of this teaching is really going to be going through different meditations, calm abiding meditation or shamatha, shanae meditation. Those are all names of the same thing. And we'll do a body scanning meditation, tapping into the natural non-judgmental awareness that the body affords us. And then one other meditation, we'll take a little break, and then we'll kind of go through accessing gentleness of body, speech, and mind. So without any further ado, let's get meditating, but let's begin by taking refuge. Thank you, Amanda. If you could put up the slide, please. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until enlightened. By the power of generosity and the other perfections, may we realize Buddhahood for the benefit of all. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until enlightened. By the power of generosity and the other perfections, may we realize Buddhahood for the benefit of all. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until enlightened. By the power of generosity and the other perfections, may we realize Buddhahood for the benefit of all. So begin by taking a comfortable seated position, whether that's on the floor or on a cushion on the ground. Whatever your body's able to do, you can even do this while lying down if that best supports your body in gentleness and being able to just simply be. I just wanted to say this one quote by the great meditation master Saraha as a sort of point of open awareness and spaciousness before I begin with the meditation instruction. Ordinary mind, in its own intrinsic state, is not spoiled by contrived focuses. The naturally pure mind needs no contrivance. Don't grasp at it. Don't release it. Leave it as it is. Or in the great words of the Beatles, let it be. So with the Shanae meditation, Begin with the attitude. The basis of meditation practice is appreciation. Every breath we take is a gift, naturally pure and good. So begin by grounding yourself in your space. If you can, keeping an upright posture to the best of your ability, this helps for the natural flow of breath. You can envision that there's an invisible string pulling up through the trunk of your body, coming through the crown of your head, keeping your shoulders relaxed, your belly relaxed. Allow yourself to tune in to the natural rise and fall of the breath. So taking your seat with this attitude of appreciation in an upright and uplifted posture, not leaning too far forward or too far back. Relax your belly. Relax your neck and shoulders. You can tuck your chin ever so slightly. Keep your eyes open, but looking downward somewhat in front of you, not fixating on anything in your immediate view, resting your eyes and awareness the way a butterfly rests on a rock. Don't fixate or pick out the characteristics of what you see. Simply allow your vision to rest on an area slightly in front of you. Tuning into your natural breath as an anchor point. Breathing in and out naturally, allowing your breath to serve as an anchor point for your awareness. If any thoughts or stories arise, simply notice them and let them pass through with the out breath. Noticing any tension that arises in the body, simply noticing it without judgment. Let that noticing pass out with the out breath. You might notice yourself getting lost in thought without judging yourself for doing so. Simply return to the breath as your anchor, letting those thoughts just come and go in the stream of mind. Coming back to the sensation, the natural rise and fall of breath. Mm. Taking a moment to grab a drink or move your body as you need. We're going to seamlessly shift from this calm abiding shamatha meditation into a body scanning meditation. I'm going to take a sip of my drink. Making any adjustments to your body to your space. Settling again into your seat, whether that's laying down, sitting in a chair, sitting on the floor. Doing your best to keep your spine upright. That helps with the natural steady flow of breath. We'll begin at the bottom of our bodies, taking note of the sensation in our feet, both right and left. Imagining that we're able to breathe in and out through both of our feet, filling every pore of each foot as if we're able to take breath in and out through our feet. Noticing any sensations in your feet or lack thereof. Simply noticing them, witnessing them, and letting that awareness pass with the out breath. Following no stories, taking no notes. Simply letting things be as they are, seeing them for what they are in any given moment. Breathing in and out through both feet. Slowly begin to move your attention, breath, and awareness from your feet up through your ankles and calves, allowing your breath, attention, and awareness to fill the space of your lower legs. Imagining that you're able to breathe in and out through your lower legs. Noticing any sensations that arise or lack thereof. Simply noticing them and letting them pass with the out breath. Breathing in and out through your lower legs. Slowly move your attention, breath, and awareness from your lower legs up through your knees, thighs, hamstrings, allowing your attention, breath, and awareness to fill the entirety of your upper legs. Imagining as though you're able to breathe in and out through your upper legs. Filling that entire area with attention, breath, and awareness. Noticing any sensations that arise or lack thereof. Simply notice them and let them pass with the out-breath. Gently moving your attention, breath, and awareness from the upper legs to the abdomen, your belly. Allowing the attention, breath, and awareness to fill your belly as if you are able to breathe in and out through your stomach. Noticing any sensations or lack thereof. Simply notice them and let them pass with the out-breath. Slowly move your attention, breath, and awareness from your belly, wrapping it around to your back so that your attention, breath, and awareness fill the space and entirety of your back, upper and lower. Imagining that you're able to breathe in and out through the entirety of your back, releasing any tension, noticing any sensations or lack thereof. Simply notice them and let them pass with the out-breath. Bringing your attention, breath, and awareness from your entire back. Moving that attention, breath, and awareness to your shoulders all the way down to your arms and hands. Filling your arms from the shoulders all the way through the fingertips with attention, breath, and awareness. As if you're able to breathe in and out through every pore, going from the tops of your shoulders all the way down to the tips of your fingers. Noticing any sensations that arise or lack thereof, simply noticing them and letting them pass on through with the out-breath. Slowly moving your attention, breath, and awareness from your arms, top to bottom, through the fingertips. Moving your attention, breath, and awareness to your chest and heart area. There's a lot of energy here. Feeling the entirety of your chest and heart space. Imagining that you're able to breathe in and out through your chest. Filling every pore of that chest area with your attention, breath, and awareness. Noticing any sensations that arise or lack thereof. Simply noticing them and letting them pass with the out breath. Slowly move your attention, breath, and awareness from your chest, heart area up through your neck and throat. Imagine filling the entire space of your neck and throat with attention, breath, and awareness. Breathing out of every single pore in that area. Noticing any sensations that arise, simply noticing them and letting them pass with the out breath. Slowly move your attention, breath, and awareness from your throat and neck up to your face, head, ears, everything up in that head face area. Filling that entire space of the head with attention, breath, and awareness. Imagining that you're able to breathe in and out of every single pore in that area. Noticing any sensations that arise or lack thereof. Simply noticing them and letting them pass on with the out breath. Slowly move your attention, breath, and awareness from the top of your head and face all the way down through your neck, chest, shoulders, upper arms, lower arms, hands, belly, back, upper and lower legs, down through your toes, allowing your attention, breath, and awareness to pervade your entire body. Breathing in and out through every pore in your body from the crown to the toes. Noticing any sensations in your whole body or lack thereof. Simply noticing them and letting them pass with the out breath. Holding your body in this space of non-judgmental awareness. Letting go of this intentional space holding and visualizing the body and returning to the space here together. Take a minute to stretch, grab a drink. We've been doing a lot of great meditating together. We have one last visual meditation. It'll be short and sweet. And then we'll take a 10-minute bio break. And then we'll get to some talking. The reason I like to start, especially in the context of this particular teaching, with a lot of meditating is because it's one of those things where the proof is in the pudding and the meditation is the pudding. And so it's nice to have that as our reference point before we begin a lot of chatter, because your mind has all that wisdom innately, and the best way to find it is through your practice. All these words are fingers pointing towards the moon. Whoa. Whoa. Creepy. All right, so take another sort of minute, do as you need. I'm drinking my very strong coffee, which is interesting to notice how my attention, breath, and awareness do with this very strong coffee. A lot of heat, a lot of vibrancy, a lot of buzzing. Whew. Taking a moment to scan through your faces here, see who I'm sharing space with. Hi, Karen. Hi, David. Hey, Jeremy, Marie, Diana, Elizabeth, Chris, Brett, Justine, Chris, Amanda, Dorothy. So many people. So great to see you all. Thank you, Elizabeth. Nice to see you.
Zoe, before we move on,
Yes.
a couple people have commented that they're hearing background noise. I don't hear anything. Um,
What
but
kind of background noise are you hearing? If anyone could let us know. Because actually, my children aren't home, and usually that's the noise that you would hear. And so I'm actually really home alone. Let me know if anyone shares anything so I can try and remedy it.
yeah, Jeremy, go ahead.
I think it's just the actual kind of Zoom machinery itself. The sound, what the sound is, and it was there right through the meditation, uh, was sounded like a snowplow rattling by outside on the street, sort of kind of thing. But it's there, kind of. It's been there all the time. I don't find it too troubling. I don't know at all.
Oh, that sounds awful, Jeremy. I'm sorry to hear that. So I don't hear that. Let me
Yeah,
see.
I don't
Is
either.
anyone else hearing that? What Jeremy's hearing, that kind of snow plow rattling sound? Um,
Uh, yeah, a couple people have their hands up.
okay, great. Let me see. Let me just double check. My husband does have like one of those sound machines because he works up here sometimes. So let me just turn it off. You know, like a white noise thing.
Oh yeah.
Let me just turn that off. One sec.
Aha.
Okay, is that better?
Absolutely, much better.
Okay, it wasn't a white noise machine. It was actually a heater, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that, that you had to sit through that. That's really horrible. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, no, no. I mean, it's just what happened to be going on. And the meditation was fantastic. Um, uh, uh, but that's very interesting that you found it, and that's what, at least that's what I was hearing. So thank you.
Okay, good. I am so sorry though that that disrupted that portion, a very long portion of meditating. You all did a really wonderful job of working everything that was arising, but thank you for giving us the feedback in real time so I could fix it.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry about that.
Not a
Well, you'll have another bit of time without a snow plow whirring sound, thank goodness. So finding a comfortable seat for our last meditation, before we take a bio break and then begin with the teaching and discussion portion of today. Okay, finding a comfortable seat again, whether that's seated in a chair, on the ground, on a couch, laying down, whatever posture and position best supports your body in this way. Keeping your eyes open but somewhat down, about 4 to 6 inches in front of you. Your eyes can be resting half closed, but not spaced out or sleepy. With a relaxed but intentional gaze, your gaze should be soft, but not too focused on anything in the visual field in front of you. Using that same metaphor, letting your gaze rest simply and gently like a butterfly resting on a rock. We're going to bring our attention, breath, and awareness to generate a visualization of a white ball of light. Can be whatever size your imagination finds most suitable, natural. Visualizing a ball of light down at your root chakra inside your body. That's about 2 to 4 finger widths below the navel, but inside the body, sort of at the base and root of your body, in your pelvis, noticing a ball of light. Using this ball of light as a focal point for your attention, breath, and awareness, as we did with the somatic body scanning meditation. Allowing this visual point to serve as an anchor, as well as your natural breath coming in and out. If at any point the visualization feels cumbersome or distracting to you, you can just let it go and use the breath as your anchor point. But for now, focusing your attention, breath, and awareness on that ball of light, gently resting at your seed center, your root center, below the navel, inside your body. As you hold your attention, breath, and awareness there, notice any sensations that arise or lack thereof. Simply noticing them and letting them pass on with the out-breath. Gently holding that ball of light at your root chakra, allowing your awareness, attention, and breath to rest there. Slowly begin moving your attention, breath, and awareness. Move that ball of light up from your root chakra below the navel to your navel center, your navel chakra, so that the ball of light moves up to your navel area. Holding your attention, breath, and awareness, resting it on the ball of light at your navel center, as if you're able to breathe in and out through the ball of light rested, nestled in your navel. Again, if at any point this visualization does not serve you, let go of it and return to your breath as a focal point. Noticing any sensations there in your navel area or lack thereof. Holding that ball of light with your attention and awareness. Moving that ball of light at your navel up to your heart center inside your body. Visualizing a ball of light resting at your heart center. Breathing in and out through the ball of light visualized at your heart. With your attention, breath, and awareness, move the visualized ball of light from your heart center up to your throat chakra. Visualizing a ball of light resting inside your throat. Breathing in and out through the ball of light at your throat. Noticing any sensations there or lack thereof. Simply noticing them and letting them pass with the out breath. Slowly move the ball of light resting at your throat up through the head to the top of your head, so that a ball of light is resting on top of your head on the crown chakra. Breathing in and out through a ball of light resting at the top of your head. Noticing what it feels like, simply noticing it, and letting that awareness pass on through the out-breath. Visualizing a ball of light at the top of your head. Allow the visualization of the ball of light resting at the top of your head to dissolve, letting go of that visualization. Now begin to rest in open, spacious present awareness, uncontrived, just as it is. Be as wide as the sky. Be vast as the earth. Allow your mind to rest in its own vivid brilliance. That's a quote from Gampopa. Okay. Coming back into the space we share together here in the Zoom room, we're going to now take a 10-minute bio break and return at 11:12. And we're back. Hey, everybody. Good to see you all. Happy Sunday. It's cold here in Vermont. I don't know where you're all hailing from, but I'm not in Los Angeles anymore. I'm in rural Vermont. Really grateful to be here today. So let's get right to it. We're talking about gentleness. I'll say gentleness with a capital G. And by gentleness, in this case, I'm using this word to refer to the basis of the nature of our mind, one of the greatest parts or assets, natural assets of natural awareness, is that it is naturally unjudgmental. And that through the process of meditation, like working a muscle, we begin to train ourselves to tap in to that non-judgmental awareness and capacity. And there's nothing wrong with that judgmental energy too. In fact, that judgmental aspect is a naturally creative impulse in the mind. It's that moving impulse. But when we sort of don't have the bandwidth or space to see it as it is, we can sort of buy into those storylines. And so then you have these meta narratives that add a lot of complexity and suffering in our lives. So I'll give you an example. You might feel, it's winter here. And so there's a lack of sunlight. And this can lead to, because we're animals, humans are animals, this can lead to feelings of winter, seasonal doldrums or depression, if you will. And that's pretty natural, right? Like, we are animals. And so lack of vitamin D, if we don't get out in the snow, you might start to feel a little low, a little hybrid, which may make you sleepy or whatever. And that's a feeling and a sensation that just simply is, right? But then you can begin to feel a restlessness when you begin to judge that experience instead of just kind of noticing it for what it is and letting it sort of pass with the out breath, as you will. You begin to, I begin to say, like, well, I don't want to feel this way. So what can I do? And I don't mean like the positive things of like, go snowshoeing. That's a really like healthy impulse, right? And I'm not asking you to be inert and completely unmoving, but sometimes that impulse can lend itself to further agitation when you don't leave space for seeing what it is. It can lead to, a claustrophobia, an internal claustrophobia, where you're like, I don't want to feel this way, and it just pisses me off, and now I'm gonna act kind of grumpy because I feel sad and I don't want to feel sad, and now I'm gonna feel grumpy because I am experiencing something I don't want to experience. We begin to try and control our situation, and often mostly it's at this point almost an autonomic emotional response, of trying to do something when we feel a certain way. But when I refer to this gentleness, it's about letting things sort of be. And I don't mean in a spiritually materialistic way, which is to fabricate the sense of like, people often use the example of, Buddhism. I heard, it's totally not about non-harm. So that means if someone comes and punches me in the face, I just take it, right? That's not what we're talking about. If someone comes and punches you in the face, you should definitely, whether if it's a stranger, maybe like contact the police, take care of yourself, get out of immediate danger, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Call them out. Why'd you hurt me? If it's safe. But I mean, rather, in the space of meditation, we work with just allowing ourselves to tune in completely to things as they are. And we begin to see that there's a lot of room. There's a lot of spaciousness, which is really where we have our most resilience. As human beings, we are able to experience the multitudes that life offers us, the bittersweet symphony, the ups and downs. There are so many, right? We have such great capacity to love and form these really incredible relationships and attachments to people that are really healthy and beautiful. And we experience great joy that comes and goes. And with that is the absence of joy, which can feel like pain. And, the fact that things are impermanent, that there's loss and death and things like that. And so when we, through the process of meditation, and begin to attend to this open, spacious, non-judgmental awareness, this natural self-existing gentleness, these things, these ever-changing causes and conditions, rising and falling, joy and pain, what this kind of cacophony that is life, begins to feel a lot more manageable. You can begin to sort of see things for what they are. That good things come, bad things come, and you can have a lot more capacity, and compassion for yourself naturally arises, and compassion for others. Things can feel a lot more workable. I'm going to share a quote that I think pertains and sort of alludes and points to what I'm referring to with this gentleness with regard to meditation and on the path in particular. It's a quote from Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. So when I quote Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, I just want to say that I hold him accountable for the actions and harm that he committed towards his students, and I condemn those actions. But I also find that that a lot of his teachings have wisdom that I feel comfortable sharing. But I want to say that I want to acknowledge that as someone who has also been harmed by teachers in abusive power. So I just want to acknowledge that. But here is the quote. Being with what is versus fabricating that sort of space. Are the great spiritual teachings really advocating that we fight evil because we are on the side of light, the side of peace? Are they telling us to fight against that other undesirable side, the bad? That is the big question. If there is wisdom in the sacred teachings, there should not be any war. As long as a person is involved with warfare, trying to defend or attack, then his or her or their action is not sacred. It is mundane, dualistic, a battlefield situation. So what I believe this quote to be saying is that, the truth of the Dharma, so the word Dharma actually simply means phenomena. And through the process of meditation, we can begin to see things as they are, to see phenomena, the nature of phenomena, the nature of the way things are. It is, the Dharma is also referring to the path, which is the middle way, free from extremes. The extremes are that duality of that discerning mind, that judgmental process, which is also, let's not judge it, naturally creative, naturally moving, a part of the mind's true nature. But when not seen in that way, when we abide by every single storyline, we begin to form dualistic tendencies. So we begin to have a sort of dualistic approach to our path. So we begin to judge like, oh, well, if I judge things and if I'm not resting in this non-judgmental awareness, that's like bad, and I'm bad, and I got to go towards something beyond my own experience. And it becomes this other that is projected up outwardly, and again, like apart from our own experience. I say this often and I'll repeat it for as long as I'm around, is that there is no path apart from our own footsteps, apart from our very experience. If you divide your experience and you seek a path that is outside of your experience, that is a kind of spiritual warfare. That is existing in those extremes where one thing is good and the other thing is bad. But to really rest and attune and get in touch with this natural, non-judgmental, self-existing, spacious awareness, that is to really see the panoply of mind, and that it's free, it's naturally free of those extremes. That while you may have the impulse in that space to judge things, which is totally natural, you should not value one thing above the other, because that perpetuates the cycle of not being able to tap into that self-existing gentleness, that spacious awareness that is the natural state of mind. People who have been in this space with me before often hear, a quote from my teacher, which is, it's two sides of the same coin. So the word for enlightened awareness, or this non-judgmental, spatial, self-existing awareness, is Rigpa. And the word for what we kind of the experience of, dividing things and feeling like we can, following all those storylines, is known as Ma-Rigpa. But if you notice, there are two sides of the same coin. One has the other word in it. They're not two separate spaces. They're not two separate things. While mind is spacious and non-judgmental, it also has this creative, moving energy that allows us to make sense and order of things. And that's, it's kind of like that. It's like a thumbs up and a thumbs down, and that's totally a natural formation process. But we can see it more clearly if we begin to see it as such, as a creative impulse, and develop more room for insight through not following that as taking it necessarily as the truth, right? Then we can get ourselves into some harmful patterns. So if any of you have been engaged, in any sort of self-help or therapeutic process, part of it is beginning first with the first step is just awareness, right? Being aware of what those patterns are. You can't really do anything to make any sort of changes or to help yourself or to help others, even if you aren't able to first be aware of sort of what your patterns are, what you do with things, with emotions or sensations as they arise. So now I'm kind of going to begin to, so you've heard this, everyone talks about this, big buzzword, mindfulness, right? What is it to be mindful? To be mindful is to, through meditating, so again, mindfulness is not something that can be borrowed from a book by learning a definition. Mindfulness is something that can only be developed through meditating. Through the process of meditation, we begin to familiarize ourselves with the inward gazing process, where we begin to develop the ability to sort of look at our own face, so to speak. to develop the spaciousness to even attend to our own awareness. Our awareness is naturally self-reflexive. What do I mean by that? I mean that even though, like, I'm Zoe and I think there's only one of me here, my awareness is able to be self-aware. And that's a part of the human existence that is pretty unique. That we have the ability not only to just simply be aware of ourselves, like in the way that, like I'm hungry and I know I'm hungry, but that you can even begin through the process of meditation, insight meditation, shamatha or calm abiding meditation, to regard, to glance at the very face, the material, the meat of your awareness. What is that apparatus that is perceiving? What is that energy that is me? And that is a process that can only take place through the process of meditation. So when we talk about mindfulness, that is basically taking that inward gaze space, that familiarity of being able to attend to your own awareness and bringing it into spaces beyond the cushion. But you can't bypass, it is impossible to bypass the meditating portion. So, a lot of times people will write about like ways to be mindful. And there are like ways to like note, you can like talk about what that looks like, but you won't really experience mindfulness deeply from the inside out unless you cultivate that space of attending to your own awareness through the process of meditation, which is simply familiarization. So meditation, again, I know you all know, I'm talking to people who know, I'm preaching to the choir here, but basically meditation is not fabricating anything beyond your experience, right? Meditation is learning to tune in to the given moment, the present moment, exactly as it is. That's all. Whatever is there. Eyes open. So what does it look like, for example, if you were to bring that gentleness to, what would that be like, that gentleness of, so in the Buddha Dharma, we talk about sort of these three gates of body, speech, and mind. So when we talk about mindfulness of body, we're not just talking about like censorship, right? Like, just be good. We're talking about training our minds to rest in spacious awareness throughout our daily interactions. Training ourselves to rest in spacious awareness throughout our daily interactions. So the reason I chose the word gentleness for this teaching is because I believe that that takes a certain amount of gentleness. Oftentimes we have a very muscular, dogmatic, condemning, dualistic approach to working with ourselves. We take a heavy hand. We want to say, if something comes up and you have a reaction that you're maybe not proud of, you want to say, do better. You shouldn't have done that. And while that is important, right, to you know, in order to make changes, right? To be aware of like, well, I would like to be more aware so that in the future I can make a choice that better serves my situation. Having a light touch, this reflection is a reflection of that non-judgmental, spacious awareness. And so, you know, it's pretty wild. I now own a gym. I'm a gym owner and I'm a personal trainer. It's really fun. It's really great. But I see a lot of people come in and really beat themselves up at the gym. Like, I'm like, you know, I had to remind a client of mine, you know, like, I saw you doing overhead presses and I could see pain in your eyes, you know, like, is there some pain in your shoulder? And she said, yeah, but I just like, you know, I really want to, I have certain fitness goals and, you know, it doesn't hurt like so badly. So I figured I could just push through it. And I thought it was like an organic opportunity. Like, unfortunately, if you keep mustering and pushing through without sort of operating with mindfulness towards like bodily sensations, you can really get hurt, right? You can actually cause more harm than good. So that over time, if she keeps pushing herself when there's pain and not listening to what the body is saying, like, hey, ouch, maybe don't do shoulder presses today. She could then injure her shoulder and not be able to do shoulder presses for 6 months and then totally fall off the wagon. And then there goes her whole plan, right? So it's really interesting, but through meditation and meditation really alone, you know, we talk a lot about this like space of self-love. We live in an era where there's a lot of like self-love books, literature on self-help. And the basis always talks about, you know, cultivating compassion and love for oneself. And I know it can sound even cheesy or reductive or, you know, weird. Okay, sure. But in this context, that deep wellspring of natural, unbiased awareness, that is what is the root of self-acceptance, self-love, and self-awareness. It's all connected together. So it is said often in texts that, you know, in the like the Mahamudra Munlam, it says that basically like when you gaze upon mind's true face, the deepest, the eyes of love will like arise within you. And that love is talking about like love with a capital L, non-referential love. And what that love kind of is, love isn't even the right word. It's basically so deeply spacious, all-encompassing, naturally non-judgmental, that is love. You kind of realize that when you experience love in relation, right? Love in relationship, that the heart of it is sort of that you love someone so much that like they could do no harm, sort of like, or you want to make it work. You want to give them the benefit of the doubt. If they harm you, you still want to go back to this homeostasis of loving them just as they are. And that sort of interrelational love space is also kind of an echo of the love with a capital L, this non-referential love that comes from and is a byproduct and essentially is that non-judgmental, spacious awareness. So when we talk about mindfulness or gentleness of the body, when you begin to familiarize yourself with that spacious, non-judgmental awareness, you will begin to naturally hold your body in awareness, listening to your body's impulses, being present with what is, whether that's a sensation that is good or a sensation that is bad. And you'll be able to flow from there with experiences and choices that are built in a space of attending to your experience versus denying your experience, trying to fit yourself into a box or be something that you aren't. And likewise with speech, it's really interesting. I was teaching at another center about a month ago, and the people in that group that I'm working with are beginning their Nundro for Vajrayana practice. So they're starting, those are the preliminary practices. And he's a really, he's one of my dear friends, and he was saying how he's noticed that lately, he has a young, he has a young daughter, and he works 2 jobs, and he's got a lot going on right now. And he was saying that he's noticed that since meditating and practicing his Nundro, he finds that he has like a little teeny, he's noticing a teeny space or delay. So like, he's stressed out. He and his wife get into tiffs. It totally happens to all of us. But now he notices when he has like something, a reaction, like his wife might be stressed out and say, well, why didn't you pick up the groceries when I asked you to? Usually he said he would be like, more reactive in that way. But he said that he's noticed that he finds that he feels that there's a moment of choice or pause, or with that pause, with that spaciousness that he's been finding through meditation, he has a minute lag, not a full minute, but like a second to sort of be like, am I going to say that? And I said, that's really amazing. That's a really cool thing, to be able to have that spaciousness. And then he said, yeah, but now I've noticed that I got a step further with it. And now I begin to not say things at all. Like even when maybe they should be said, and then I feel weird because I didn't say them. And I was like, so that's not what I mean. That sort of goes back to that fine line of walking, sort of contrivance in this space, right? Being mindful comes from the inside out is what I'm saying. You can't simply say, I'm just going to stop saying things and then, building up tension inside yourself. That's a contrivance. But when we talk about mindfulness of body, speech, and mind, it is rooted only through the experience that you find in meditation. So what I'm saying is, yes, yeah, of course, try not to be mean to people. Try to, do your best at any given moment. But that doesn't mean simply censoring yourself and creating a war within yourself where I'm good if I do this and bad if I do that. Because if we follow those dualistic judgmental impulses, we stray and sort of keep in the mire of not being able to see and experience our awareness, to become aware of our awareness. So to become truly aware of our awareness, we need to flex that muscle of just being with, just noting in that way, just seeing sort of things as they are, no matter what arises. So we spent all of the morning, the first part of this session, meditating. And again, I mentioned that the reason for that is because the proof is in the pudding, and that was sort of what the teaching is about, that you can't really forge or fudge mindfulness from the outside in. It comes from the inside out. But it helps to sort of anchor your mind and intentionality in a space of gentleness versus judgment, just to reframe things and to note, like, I can be a bit more gentle. And that just means I can listen. I can listen. I can learn how to attend to my own awareness through listening. In meditation, we do a lot of listening. I want to take this time now, since we're together, and part of my most favorite thing about being with this group, in particular at NDF, in this way, on this Zoom space, is hearing from all of you. So I like to leave some time to either discuss, so feel free to ask any questions about any of the meditation that we did together, meditations, share any experiences that arose in that space, any thoughts, questions, or things that have arisen while I've been talking a bit about gentleness and mindfulness from the inside out. Would love to hear from you at this point. So if, without further ado, let me know if there's any way. Yeah, Justine.
Okay, I can unmute. Sorry, I'm not used to this device. I just want to say thank you so much for that. I found all the way you went through the meditations was lovely, and I think you're fantastic anyway. I try to come to anything that you do, because so I'm a single mom too, and for me, I have to, I can't be like in retreat or something. Like
Yeah.
I'm right here, and
Yeah.
I have a teenager too, so that comes with complications, right? Especially in today's world.
Yeah.
So I started my Nundro with NDF like last summer, and we're moving now from we're doing the four thoughts, and we're moving now from impermanence and death into karma. And I feel that because this is so much about with working what is there rather than cutting it out or saying, oh, I don't like that, I'm gonna push it away. Like the stuff that I had denied, like even as a child, like because I used to have these sort of subtle body sensations, like things that I recognize now as subtle body, and I had no words for them. I had no way to explore them really.
Yeah.
That now it's opened up, and it's something it's something that's there to explore, and I don't have to push it away. So I just want to thank you for creating that kind of space where it feels expansive, and where I sort of feel that I don't know what that love without reference points. I know what you're talking about. I have no words for it though. So
Neither do I.
so but it's there, and it's just in the fabric, and I really appreciate that. So I just want to give you deep appreciation for all of that. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you, Justine. I really want to give you deep appreciation. First of all, being a single mom is no joke. I was raised by a single mom, and you guys are heroes. And yeah, I honestly think that we should all think of the path as that of yeah, you can't retreat. In fact, you have to really, really immerse, really just be with everything as it is. And you're doing that, and that's so awesome. And gosh, karma, what a load. Again, I'm sure that all the people that you're working with on your Nundro have already really deeply discussed this with you, but I just want to throw this out here because we're in the context, since you mentioned it, that it's really important, especially since you're coming into a space of like finding things that have arisen in the past, present, future, like in the somatic body. That's deep wisdom. That's like a lot. That can be a lot. And also in the context of karma, karma is the most complex teaching of the Buddha. And why that is because without a really strong foundation in meditation and being in touch, and I don't say that as in like, if you're a good meditator, I don't mean that. I mean like without the foundation coming from that non-judgmental like awareness, knowing that that's where truth is found and sought, it can become very dogmatic exploring karma. But the essence of the Buddha's teachings on karma are literally cause and effect and interdependence. And so if you can release into that more and just try to know that that's the intention of that finding within his context, was from this deep spaciousness of seeing the way things work, like childlike curiosity, and being like, look, if I throw a stone over there, there's ripples in the pond. Coming at it from there versus the way that we really code it, heavy, thick, 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 with intention, like a lot of morality, judgment, dogma. Try to go deeper into, imagine like the earth was explaining what it feels like to hear a sound. That's what the
Yeah.
teachings on karma are really actually about. Anyway,
Yeah.
it gets
Yeah.
thick, and I just like
Yeah.
it gets really upsetting sometimes. So just wanted to share that.
Yeah. No, I live quite close to the Decordova, and there's this beautiful sculpture there of a rock made into a face that's listening to the earth. And
Yes.
that's how I picture myself sometimes. It's more like a Taoist way of looking. It's not, because you're not going into subject object, because
Right.
I've been there.
Yeah.
So okay, that's enough, you know.
Right. Totally. Yeah. I just like to throw it
Yeah.
out there every time people say karma, because it's just like the most fraught teaching in
Totally, yeah.
for Westerners. I don't think that Eastern cultures have as much of a problem learning about
Yeah.
karma as we do in the West. And sometime
Mm.
I'll touch on it, but it always gets really intense really fast. Anyway, thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Thanks for being here. Okay, Karen and then Brett.
Hi, Zoe. Thank you for sharing your flow with us. Good to see you. I'm not sure when you mentioned the word grumpy, but it brought up something for me. And it also has to do with this, this mindfulness of reaction and what is truly the experience. So it makes me think of sometimes when I'm fatigued or sick, this layer of grumpiness comes over it. And I start to notice, think, okay, well, why am I grumpy? Like I'm actually feeling ill and sick, and that's actually a physical reaction in my body. So what is this grumpiness layer on top of it? And trying to separate the two in the sense that the grumpiness is actually my reaction to the experience. So it's like that second arrow, and that really separating those helps me be with the sensation of suffering in a more gentle and easeful way. If I say, okay, my body is giving me messages, I am sick, I just need to rest in this and be gentle with myself rather than putting this other layer on of grumpiness, which is really my own inconvenience, right? Like, oh, it's so inconvenient to be sick and I'm not getting this done and I'm not doing that and I'm missing out on this. So, really trying to separate those two pieces. And then when you gave us the quote from Trungpa, it really brought up how that same type of process comes into my way of trying to be in the world the way things are now with current politics. So when is my judgment, my creative impulse of judgment, I love that description of it. But when is it coming from defensiveness, right? When is it coming from like, I need to say what I want to say because I think I'm right versus honoring the suffering that is underneath the harmful action. So, and honoring my own suffering in the same way, but really separating that defensive judgment and that thought of giving more value to my thoughts rather than trying to look at the suffering that underlies the harmful action and actually honoring that suffering. So thank you for that teaching.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, to use therapy as another reference point about that, like my therapist used to always say, it's not even the feelings themselves, it's the feelings about the feelings that cause us any sense of turmoil. It's really interesting. Like if you were to just really like sit openly with sadness, you'd find that it like kind of naturally eases, just like that sensation alone, like you're saying, exactly what you're saying, versus when you get angry at the sadness, like it's inconvenient that I'm feeling sad, or like I shouldn't feel sad, whatever. It's when you start to really spiral out. Thank you so much for sharing, Karen. It's great to see you today. Brett.
Thank you, and I as well appreciate your teachings, and I'm happy to be here. I have a memory of listening to a podcast with B. Alan Wallace, and he was doing a critique of kind of contemporary secular mindfulness, but it was I found it a bit patronizing. He was saying that there's a sense of self-satisfaction at the mindfulness alone of, say, like a negative emotion comes out, or a thought. And then he quoted like Shanti Deva. It's like, no, you need to, and he was not critiquing Shanti Deva. I think it was in support of his argument. Like, you need to replace that thought. And it made me think of the bravado with some of the teachers and the lack of this could be interpreted as a lack of kindness. And I don't know. I could see someone, at least this is not a teacher, this is just someone with a book, one-on-one. I'm developing a unkind approach to dealing with the unwanted, in a sense, or thinking, and it seemed dualistic in a sense.
Yeah. It is. I think that's why I'll be totally frank with you. If there's a lot of reasons why I've been like, at times, like, I'm just going to do away with referring to myself as a Buddhist, not because I don't believe and fully like the teachings. I'm like, yeah, like like Mahamudra, like open spacious awareness, like that's the truth to me. I feel deeply in my bones. But similar to the way that Karl Marx said, I myself am not a Marxist. It's when we get into that dogmatic space, like you said, it is very condemning and confusing. And B. Alan Wallace, I mean, that's a great example of like that.
Well, he got into that whole, like, I don't know, remember if you remember, or if you were aware, when he publicly, him and Stephen Batchelor got into this like public tiff, and it was so ugly and
Yeah.
like hateful, and I got so turned off.
Yeah, it's that's really my least favorite part and why I tend to teach very little scripture, and when I do, I really try and like do the Kabbalah version sort of. Like I'm just always like, let's really acknowledge the I path as goal, basically. So like why I am such a really why I believe in the essence of the tantric Buddhist teachings is because they're couched, everything is Mahamudra, everything is Dzogchen. And so you what we are aspiring to is always already present. It's simply a matter of learning how, through the process of meditation, to familiarize ourselves with the ability to have our awareness gaze upon its own face. And from that vantage point, all of the other stuff, like similar to what I was saying with the context of the teachings on karma for Justine, like, yeah, there isn't any like great word for it. I don't know if you've read any of these Dzogchen teachings. That's the reason why it's basically all written in verse poetry. Like it's basically just like William Blake, literally, just all of it. It's because words are fingers pointing towards the moon. Like Shanti Deva, for sure, he talks about like the conduct of a bodhisattva, and that is a beautiful thing. But if you're literally going to let somebody cut your arm off, like some of his stories, because you're a great bodhisattva, that's similar to like the Dalai Lama once said with regard to being careful around, like, for example, teachers that claim to be able to practice karma mudra, which is this like sexual tantric practices. So like beware, like women, men, beware if somebody tells you that, like he was saying, the only person that I would trust to actually be doing that is someone that could literally eat a piece of shit and be like, it tastes just like beef tenderloin. And so basically, when Shanti Deva gives that reference point of like that, like, like they'll talk about, and Chenrezi like cried blood, seeing the suffering of others. It's like, okay, until you're like, that is actually happening, you're crying blood. Like, but I mean, these are essentially more allegorical images in that context. So I definitely take a more poetic, yogic, Kabbalah approach to things. And it's, for me, always rooted in your direct experience. There is no other teacher. I'm always about the inmost guru and the inmost teachings gleaned from the inmost guru. And the inmost guru is your own mind. So, Brett, basically you sharing what you shared with me is you knowing intrinsically that that's not the vibe. That's not it.
Yeah.
Like if I should replace my experience with like something outside myself and beat myself up for not doing that already, that can't be it. You knew that. That's why you shared it out of a place of genuine discomfort. The body knows, like, Lama Willow's book about the body, that's it. Like that inmost innate wisdom, that is felt, our felt experience. Like the more we can really tune in to what's going on and like be right there, that's where it comes from, all of it. And everything makes sense in from there. And then the greatest intentions come from that. Anyway.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's helpful. Thank you so
No.
much. Thank you, Brett. I'm gonna Dorothy, and then we're gonna dedicate the merit and do our Sundays.
I just haven't seen you for a while, and I just love everything you say, I just am right there with you. And I just want to say that it's so helpful in real life. And when I first got introduced to Buddhism, I, the whole spiritual materialism, I'm an environmentalist, so I'm always judging people about not doing something,
Yeah.
not even caring, going about their lives as if this wasn't right. To me, it feels like a speeding train coming down the railroad tracks right at us. And people
Right.
are like, I think I want to do this. It's like, but when I first started, it was a Dalai Lama or somebody who was saying, like, you be your own judge. If one person says this, and he's a big fancy teacher or something, and you ask yourself, and yourself says that's just not right, believe yourself.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this, but I've been discarding a lot of the whole practices, and not meditating nearly enough, and not really progressing the way I could have if I hadn't have sort of rejected so much of it wholeheartedly because I was trying to do what felt right to me intuitively. So
Hmm.
there's some kind of I'm not all right and other people aren't all wrong, but there's all my lesson is always what is the middle way. And
Hmm.
I just, that's my complaint about religion generally. They're not doing the middle way. And to me, you bring it down to your life. And that's the path. And I'm starting to hear that now, but I didn't hear that 20 years ago. So I made my own choices and they could have been better. But just thank you for being real.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. I want to say, I think I know this sounds annoying, but I'm like saying it to myself because I literally spent, like almost a decade living like in a monastery, and there's coulda, woulda, shouldas, but um, I also think that's part of the path, right? Like, just like
Right.
when you first start meditating, you're like naturally people like you have to recognize that it's not about like silencing the thoughts, but rather learning to sort of like be with them without clinging to them and following their storyline, right?
Right.
But it is part of the path to be like following your thoughts because you're used to doing that. And it's like you
Yeah.
couldn't learn that there's another way without going through the mud. It reminds me of the book that I read to my kids. We're going on a bear hunt. And it's like, you can't go over it. You can't go under it. You got to go through it. So
Right.
just honor that like, that there is no path apart from your footsteps, even when you take footsteps in a different direction than where you thought you ought to be. But just the more gentleness, dropping the oughts, the woulda, coulda, shouldas, you'll just keep finding where that natural home is
Right.
inside. Anyway, thank you. You've always given me great wisdom. I'll never forget, actually. I don't know if you remember this, but one of my first teachings with NDF was very like kind of like religious, and I was like talking about, I forget which one of the like some of Shanti Deva's stuff, and I remember you were like, it was a Monday night class, and you were like, every time I hear this stuff I just kind of want to tune out. And you said that to me, and I was like,
Oops.
yeah. No, it was great. It actually like helped me give myself permission because I had only created that type of teaching because I was like, I feel like because the context, like people want that. They don't just want me like riffing on my experience. And then anyway, you helped me so much as a teacher. So thank you. Really.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
All right. With all that, let's dedicate and great. Thank you all so much. There we go. May the pure, brilliant sun of bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion unstoppably until all are fully illumined and awakened. Thank you all so much for being here today. It's been such an honor to be with you guys this Sunday morning. I hope you have a really safe, healthy, joyful rest of the day.